check these claims from the president that the U.S. basically supports NATO and the accusation that Germany is beholden to Russia. Our chief national security correspondent, Jim Sciutto, is with us. Jim, let's start with the president demanding that other countries pay what he says would be their fair share, and they pay it immediately. Is the U.S. being treated unfairly?
Well, this battle within NATO is not new. Successive U.S. presidents have pushed European allies to pay more, to contribute more. And there is some basis to that argument. I'll just give you an example. This is the number of military transport aircraft. That's a key of getting forces into place to fight wars, to counter threats. The U.S. has more than 5,000, 5,200 transport aircraft. All the other NATO members combined, they have a little more than half that together. And it's this imbalance that successive U.S. presidents have tried to address. Now, if you look at the U.S. military budget, it pays 3.5%, a little more than that of its budget. Now, that's something of an unfair comparison because the U.S. has many military commitments far beyond NATO, but when you look at that 2% goal, only a handful of countries meet that. Greece, it's a little misleading because their budget is so small after the financial crisis, but the UK does. Estonia, right on the border with Russia, it does. Poland again, close to that eastern frontier of NATO, it does. But the other big U.S. allies in NATO, they do not. France is pretty close. Canada, Germany, as the president likes to single out, is not. Now, to be clear, that 2% goal, it's not a legal requirement. It's not a treaty requirement. It was a goal established at the 2014 NATO summit to be met by 2024, which is still, of course, 6 years away. Of course, they made that goal before they knew that President Donald Trump was going to be elected and make this such a political issue for him. He's, in effect, moving up that, well, not deadline, but that goal year, demanding that those NATO members meet that target. Well, of course, today you might say he's upended it all by now doubling the target. Clearly not a serious request, but the president has made it.
Yeah, he says it's not good enough, 2%. It's got to be 4%, which clearly is not going to happen. What about the claims from the president that Germany is what he calls a captive of Russia? What's he referring to?
Well, he's referring to the fact that Germany, and frankly a whole bunch of European countries, depend on Russia for natural gas. Germany, in its case, gets about a third of its natural gas from Russia, another third from Norway, a little less than a third from Netherlands. If you look at the rest of Europe, it's not that far out of whack. I mean, after all, Europe is close to Russia. Russia produces a lot of natural gas. The whole European Union, a little more than a third, again, Norway, and some from across the Mediterranean and Algeria. Big driving factor here is cost. These countries, after Russia invaded Ukraine, they said, listen, we're going to buy less Russian gas. We want to be less dependent on it. But the fact is that the price of Russian gas has gone down. They've been buying more of it. And a lot of that is an economic factor. I will say this, U.S. natural gas producers, they are desperate to sell U.S. natural gas to Europe. They would love to. The trouble is there's no pipeline from here to there, so you have to liquefy it, take it across in big ships. That costs a lot of money. They just can't compete with the cheap gas coming across the border from Russia.
Good point, Jim Sciutto. Thank you for that.
I want to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem, Rakakadash, and I want to give double honors to my apostles and great millstone. This is Revelation 17, verse 15, and he said unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. Now, where the whore sitteth, that's talking about America, because you can find the Japanese, the Chinese, Africans, all other nations and tongues right here in America. And this is verse 16, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, and these shall hate the whore. The 10 horns is NATO. NATO is going to hate the whore, which is America, Babylon the Great. And Trump is doing a damn good job of making these prophecies come true. And shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Because when they all hate the whore enough, when they all turn on America, they gonna send them nukes over here. And it ain't just gonna be NATO. It ain't just gonna be the Tin Horns. It's gonna be China. It's gonna be Russia and all other nations. But mainly it's gonna be all of America's allies in NATO. They gonna turn and they gonna shoot them nukes over there. They gonna destroy everything. They gonna burn her with flesh and make her desolate. They gonna burn her flesh with fire, Shalakia. That's all I wanted to go to on this video, though. Shalom to the elect.